Well, hello, everyone. Listen, did you know that the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence states that there are 20 people that are abused physically every minute? And that's just physically. I want to let you know that our next guest, she not only faced physical abuse, but emotional abuse from early childhood, even to early adulthood as a foster child. But she shares with us today her triumph and how she overcame to become the incredible songstress and songwriter that she is today, now utilizing her gift to now engage and impact other people's lives. So make sure you stay tuned. You want to hear what she has to say. And before we hop into that, I just want to let you know that my name is Renee West. For those of you that may not know me, I'm the CEO and founder of Alia School of Art. And we're so happy to have you guys here with Music Mondays. Please check us out online at www.aliaschoolofart.com to find out a little bit more about what we do, what we stand for, and how we impact our community on a daily basis. Please find us on social media at Alia School of Art. That's ALIYAH, School of Art singular, on Facebook or Instagram, and follow us so you can find out who we have coming up next. Well, without further ado, Miss Mary Cross, it is such an honor to have you with us today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me. It is my absolute honor to be here. I'm very humbled by it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's a pleasure for us as well. And again, thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm excited to hop into your story. There's always a story behind the artist. But and because first of all, I know it's going to help people and change people's lives. It's such a powerful story. But before we do that, I just want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Mary Cross, and I have been married for over 25 years, almost 26 years. And yeah, and I've always had a love for music. And I'm also someone who's been employed with Rowan Medicine for over 20 years. And my family is full of 4 adult children who are all grown now, bless God. And I just love music. As I said before, it just is something that motivates me, and it's more of an interpretation when you actually share your gift of song, be it doing the interpretation of sharing your voice, or if you were actually using an instrument. So for me, it's kind of like a way to, you know, how deep attracts deep, and you are able to speak to people through music. And I think that it's one of the things that has absolutely been a saving grace for me in my walk and in the direction that my life has taken, and how I've gotten to the other side, and still in the side of glory, able to share my testimony with others. I'm just honored and excited to be able to do that wherever I go.
Oh my goodness, amazing. Yes. So Miss Mary Cross, she is a professional recording artist. We know that you have recorded several singles. Are they going to go together on an album, or is that where we're working towards?
Yes, we are working towards an album, and I'm really excited about it. It's called The Love Project. And it's
Oh,
all about love, because that's pretty much the whole premise of why I do what I do, because of my love for music, love for other creative beings like myself, and also the idea of just sharing with others what the gift of what God has given us, because it is a gift. Any of your creative artistry that you have is a gift that comes from Him. So it just is exciting to be able to share that in the form of a project that other people can enjoy and relate to in some way, shape, or form. But it's always positive, always positive.
you know, and I love that about your music. And guys, you want to check out her music, check out her latest singles. They are mature, but they're love songs, they're melodic, they're just enjoyable. And you have an incredible voice. So it's just something that we want to hear and people will definitely gravitate to.
Thank you so
So
much.
I know a big part of your story, people may not understand, but a big part of what you do and why you do what you do was your experience coming up from a child into an adult.
Mhm,
So could you take a little bit of time? I know that you experienced, there was some physical abuse, there was some
mhm.
emotional abuse. Could you talk about being a foster child from not only in childhood, but even into young adulthood?
Yeah, so it was an interesting kind of a journey that my life had taken. My brother and I, and he's not my biological brother, but he is my brother, okay? And we were both put into foster care from birth. And being raised in that environment, we didn't know any other home or any other family. And we were the only foster kids that we knew. Like there were no other kids who were foster kids, so everybody knew their grandma, aunties, and everybody else. And we just were kind of like odd to some because they didn't understand why we didn't have family. And having been raised in the one foster home that we grew up in, when I got to the age of 12, I was told that I was not her biological daughter. I'm speaking of my foster mother at the time. But throughout my childhood, my brother and I, he was treated a little differently than I was. But you know, she had her reasons, and I think it had to do with, you know, just she didn't receive me as well, maybe because I didn't look as much like her or complexion wise and all as my brother did, things of that nature. So I tended to experience a lot of abuse, and it was physical abuse, you know, with beatings with an extension cord. Beatings with belts, all kinds of stuff. And I know some kids remember getting a switch off a tree when your family member made you go outside and get a switch, and you know, you get a beating with that, or a belt. But I think that a lot of the things were more extreme and I didn't realize it. And also, you know, you have that fear because they're telling you, if you leave this home, you'll be going from house to house, because she used to take in other foster kids as well. So you're fearful that you won't have a family. You know, your brother's here, and you know, she's here, and all these other kids who come in at different times and are part of the foster care system, and then they eventually go away. But my brother and I were always the constant. So I was fearful that I wouldn't have family. I'd go somewhere and I didn't know anybody. So that was always something that really stuck with me, and was the reason why I didn't complain. I didn't tell anybody. And you know, I'd go to school and people back then would see the welts and all, but and when I was in gym class, but nobody said anything because back then it was pretty quiet. You know, nobody really talked about it. Like DIFAS now will come in and take kids out of homes and environments like that, yeah, quickly, and ask a lot of questions, but that's not what happened, you know, 30, 40 years ago. Just didn't. So for me, the fear and also wanting to feel like I belonged somewhere, and recognizing if I didn't have her, I didn't have anybody because I had no biological relatives. Whereas my brother, before his birth mother passed away, she did want to see him because she was dying of cancer, and she wanted to meet him beforehand. But, you know, she didn't take him out of that environment. He did meet up with some other relatives that, you know, were related to her. But, you know, that was a separate situation. So for me, I just, I had to figure out how I was going to, as a kid, deal with the situation of feeling rejected, not feeling wanted, the abuse that you deal with when you're dealing with physical abuse and mental abuse, and telling you you're never going to be anything, you'll never have anything. You have A student grades, and yet that's never good enough. She wouldn't let me participate in the school plays and things that they wanted me to do because they figured out I had a great voice. So the only thing I was able to experience, which was a blessing, and I know it was God, was that I had some friends in the neighborhood, and one of my friends was Carolyn, and she used to go to church. And I used to mimic Captain and Tennille singing "Love Will Keep Us Together." And she said, "I think you could sing." I said, "No, I can't sing. I just do that because I just mimicking people." She said, "No, Mary, I think you got a voice." So I went with her to church, and then I started getting into the choir. Did my first solo with Felicia Beverly. We did it as a duet. It was my first time singing in front of a choir, and it was amazing. And that was like my experience in the road that led me in a different direction, to give me hope that there was something I was created for, and that God had a plan for my life. So it was a great introduction to him. Now, of course, it didn't come without its challenges, because my foster mom did not go to church, you know, and she wasn't interested in church. So my brother went to church with one of his friends' families, and they went over Philadelphia, and I would go to this church that was in the neighborhood. And that's the one thing that I was able to do without her having too much, you know, pushback, giving me too much pushback. So I bless God for that opportunity and for that introduction to ministry. So it was really wonderful. It's wonderful. And a turning point.
Wow, that's awesome. Yes. So we understand that your introduction to music was really what became your safe place. You began to go to music as a place of healing, as many of us do. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So music to me is very therapeutic, and it's something that is indeed the universal language. Even as a kid, we don't understand it and can't put it into those words. But indeed, I did feel that it was my refuge, because at times when I'd get a beating or things would happen to me, one time I was beat so bad I went into the hospital, And I remember that my only way of coping with it was to sing to myself or hum to myself. And I remembered songs that I'd hear, either it was a gospel song or something I heard on the radio. We had these little transmitter radios. And so things of that nature. But I always felt like the only thing that could soothe me was being able to talk to God, or actually being able to listen to music that I felt could just comfort me, when I didn't have someone to give me a hug or tell me they love me or say that I was of value or worth anything, or that I was doing a good job and your grades are great. Like, I never had that. So I didn't know what to do with this thing, but music became the way that I felt I could actually have something that I identified with, that nobody could take from me. And it was something that was an internal thing that was built in. So I didn't have to worry about somebody giving me permission to, or if I could use a radio or listen to a song or whatever, because I had it within me. And that was always something that really resonated with me as I grew, because I understood that the one thing you can't take is my joy. And the joy that I have, you can't steal it, you can't touch it. It's something that if I'm able to take the songs that I listen to and give my own interpretation and listen to somebody else's and escape from this thing that I'm living through and experiencing in this physical life, then you don't have power over me anymore in that way. You might over your physical man, sure, but to a degree, but you can't do anything with that when it comes to my mental state or how I'm going to cope with what I need to do to move forward. And for me, I looked at music and I said, oh, this is great. And I loved all types of genres of music. I never had a specific one that I was focused on, but my love for watching the Jet magazines and seeing all these great African-American people who were, look like me. And then my introduction to Phyllis Hyman and seeing that she was statuesque, beautiful, wore great clothes, and she was just amazing. And on top of that, her being able to sing and thinking that there is something else outside of this house and this environment and this sadness that I had that could give me life and give me hope that there was something more I could do. And I always vowed when I grew up, I wouldn't have run over shoes with holes in the bottoms anymore. I wouldn't have to wear the same clothes anymore. I wouldn't have to worry about people making fun of me or not having anything or not being able to listen to or enjoy music that, you would think that it's something that you could freely do. But there are always stipulations when you're living in someone's house and they're controlling what you think, what you wear, all of those things. So I just bless God that he kept me, because truly, I just know that the locusts didn't devour my crops. You know what I'm saying? You think about the things that you've been through and the situations that you had to be confronted by. And to give me this time and space to have raised my children and been married this long, and now I can focus on what I love to do, he still made a way for me to be able to do that. And music has always been my refuge. And I'm just excited that I now am able to focus and function in that way in my latter years. They said your latter should be greater than your past, and I believe that for sure.
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a redemptive story. And we do want to honor Miss Phyllis Hyman. She was an incredible, incredible just icon and voice. And I do hear the essence of Miss Phyllis Hyman in your music. But again, she was incredible, and you're incredible as well. So we know that the ultimate redemption of your story is that now, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but now basically your model and why you do what you do is to engage others and show them that love that you were seeking at an early age. But before we do that, God did something else in your story. And can you tell us a little bit about when your foster mother, she had passed on, and then later you actually were able to reunite with your actual birth mother? Can you tell us about that story?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I always say that God has a sense of humor. My brother was in the military because he left home right after he got out of high school. And so I, of course, had, moved out and done some other things, but I, had to plan my foster mom's funeral, because all of her relatives disowned us. They didn't want anything to do with us. They didn't consider us really their relatives or children because we weren't biological kids. And so from that, it was weird because when I had to plan the funeral, I even sang at the funeral, and it was very, very difficult, I must say. But through all of the challenges and all the pain and all that, I had to be forgiving. And I know that my pastor and was always talking about bitterness. You can't allow that to overwhelm you. You've got to get past those things. So I knew what I had to do, and I have a love for people. And I understood that it wasn't her. It was just that she was a type of person that had something in her that caused her to react in those ways. And there's nothing I can do about that. I couldn't change her. I can't totally understand that. But I know that in everything that I do, I want to love. And love is just like, for all that I do and any I do, my hope is that people receive the love that I have to give them because it's genuine, it's honest, there's no extra stipulations attached to it. So I had made up my mind that I wasn't going to ever find my birth mother. You know, I had tried at one point, and the records were sealed because as the state of New Jersey, DIFUS was that way. I don't know. And then as time went on, when I got married, I decided I wanted to make one last ditch effort to see if I could find out anything. And again, came up with nothing. They said, no, you know, your records are sealed. There's nothing we could do. We're not going to be able to give you anything. So I was like, okay. So I just had resolved that there's no way I'd ever meet this woman. So we're good. And I didn't know anything about my history. You still deal with that feeling of rejection. Like, why would you give me up? Like, if I could just have some kind of closure, just an idea of why, maybe it would explain things. I know it must have been for my better good, even though I didn't understand it. That's what you tell yourself. So last year, I had a DNA test that I had bought in 2019, the end of 2019, and it sat on my bookcase forever. And I was like, I was doing it because I wanted my kids to have some recollection or record of my medical history, since I didn't know anything about either parent. And so finally, in early 2020, I decided that I would, you know, do the test. I wanted to look up and see what I need to do. And all it was saliva. I was like, oh, who can't do that? I can do that. So I did the test and I sent it off. And when it came back, I didn't have any close relatives, but it did say that I had a cousin who was 6 times removed. So I reached out to him, and he was in California, and his name is Lewis. Hey, Lewis. And he was very, very kind. He said, well, you know, maybe I can help you. And I said, well, I don't think you can, because I don't have any close relatives that come up on this thing with the centimorgans. So he said, well, what do you know about your mom? So I told him her first and last name, which would have been Smith, you know, same as mine. And I said, you know, I was left at the hospital, you know, it was in Camden, whatever. So he took that little bit of information, and he was able to find, because he had did some research, he found a picture of her on ancestry.com. This is so crazy. And he said, I think this is your mom. And he sent me the picture, and he said, oh my God. So I said, wow, this is great. So then I went a step further, and I swear to you, if you asked me today to go back and figure out how I did this, I would not be able to tell you. That's why I know that it had to be a God doing it for me. I Googled something, and it came up that there was a Camden High School alumni, and this person had wrote a message, and it was like during the MySpace season when people were doing, you know, stuff with that. And so it came up and it said, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I didn't want to give her name just in case. But it said, if you guys are doing alumni stuff, I'm interested. I graduated in this year, whatever. So, and it had email addresses, but they were Y mail. So I tried each one, it didn't work. And she had, in addition to her, she had the name Frank Bay listed there, and said, if in case of emergency, if you want to find him and you can't reach out to me, this is his number, or email, I should say. So both emails, none of them worked. So I told Lewis, 6 times removed cousin, and he actually did some further research and found out that Frank Bay was actually a blues singer. And he said, if this is the same Frank Bay, then he's a public figure. I'm going to try to see if I can reach him. And he did just that. He actually contacted Frank Bay through, I don't know how he did it, but he got his phone number and he called him and he said, hey, you know, I'm calling because I just wanted to know if you know this person by this name. And he said, oh yeah, she's right here. And so then he was like, oh, he put her on the phone. So my cousin's talking to my biological mother on the phone, and he's freaking out like, oh my gosh, what do I say? So he told her the most he could about the truth, which was my cousin, who also went to Camden High School, is seeking to connect with you because you both are alumni from there. And she was like, oh, yeah, give her my number. Oh my gosh. So then he, of course, kept asking me, did you contact her? And I said, no, I haven't contacted her. So I talked to one of my producer friends, and he said, I think you should write a letter. And I did. And when I wrote the letter, it was 1 page, and it was pretty much saying, because I thought about, if she is indeed has a family of her own, a life of her own, I don't want to disrupt that, because maybe nobody knows who I am. that would be an awful thing. I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. So I thought I'd reach out to her in such a way that it was just saying thank you for the gift of life and for the choices that she made that led to my being here now today. And that I was, I had a family, and I was just grateful for what part she played in my life. And she reached out to me like a week later, and she was so excited, and she still is. She's really, really great. And so it was really nice to be able to connect with her. And I met her. And I also have a bonus sister that I didn't know about. So it has been a great journey. And in addition to that, I met other family members who've been so supportive. They love coming to my shows and seeing my stuff online. We've done a lot of virtual stuff because, of course, with COVID, you couldn't get together. But it's been so wonderful to be so well received and go from no family or a relationship with people who didn't show me that kind of love and affection to having people who actually encourage me and support me. And I mean, God is just amazing, and nothing makes me worthy. I promise you, nothing at all. But His grace is so amazing that He saw fit to bless me, even me. And I was so okay with not knowing anything. Like if He didn't see fit to do it, and I would have been fine with that. But to know the story and why she gave me up, and she's from Germany, and she was in a home in Germany, and they encouraged American soldiers to adopt the kids from the shelters so that they had a home back in America. And that's how she ended up here in the United States and in Camden, New Jersey. But in that adoptive family, when she got pregnant at 18, it was frowned upon to be pregnant and not married. And they encouraged her to give the baby up, which was me.
Wow.
And so I was supposed to go into a family, she was told, that was biracial, and something must have happened and it didn't work out. And then I ended up where I was. So I don't ever
Wow.
question the direction that God has us go in. But I am grateful because I think that for all the journey that I've taken, had it not been for that, I don't think I'd be as compassionate, as loving, as
Mm.
sensitive to people who are rejected or have a sense of not having an identity or not being heard or not being seen. I think it makes me more sensitive to that. And why, when I sing, the interpretation comes through as if I really want you to hear me and know that you feel what I'm trying to convey. Because I don't just sing to be singing. I'm not singing for accolades. I'm not singing to have somebody say anything about anything. I just want you to know that whatever lyrics I'm singing, I want you to feel good. And that's kind of like how I came up with the LLC that I founded and my band, which is called To Inspire You. Because in all that I do, if I can inspire people to want to be better and know that you are loved in the space that I'm in right now, I'm occupying, I'm making a difference in your life, and you have the power to do that same thing to everybody else that you meet throughout your life journey, then my living's not in vain, and it's all worth it. Every single thing. I wouldn't change anything. And it was tough, now mind you, but I wouldn't change anything. Or Maya Angelou said it best when she said, I wouldn't take nothing from my journey now. I am fine with it. God has been overly gracious to me in my having a family and a home and my kids, and having met my biological mother and my half sister. And my church community has always been my family, mind you. But to know that I have biological family members is like amazing.
That is so amazing. I tell you, that is just so powerful. Thank you so much for your genuineness and honesty and sharing that story with us. So now we can get into your LLC, and we can let's talk a little bit about the music. First, I just want to talk about love and marriage and how love plays such an integral role in what it is that you do and how you engage the community that you impact through your music.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely have such a love for people. I love doing things that have to do with nonprofit organizations that do things for senior citizens, as well as for our youth, like the Idea Center of Performing Arts in Camden, New Jersey, and various senior centers that I work with. I absolutely love the idea of supporting them. Sometimes when music is so therapeutic, and to them, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember that song. So it's like, sometimes it'll be an acoustic set. Sometimes I'll take a trio of jazz musicians in, and we'll, do things for them. And at the Idea Center, through my foundation, we actually will go in and do a performance, and I have to supplement, the pay for the musicians. But what we do is we try to bring stuff to the community and bring great music to the community, and also just show our appreciation for what the performing arts venues are doing in support of young people and just for the community at large who want places to go to listen to great entertainment, because it's hard to find. And then with COVID, the venues, many of them are shut down. And also, that is something that's very dear to my heart, to make sure that we're still doing our best to spread love through music and give people our very best. Because really, when you're giving it's a part of your soul, actually. When you go out and you give of your creative, whatever that gift may be, you're leaving that with people, and it's something you can't get back. So we would hope that they would receive it in the same way or with the same context or thought process that you had in giving it. And that's kind of like why it gives me so much joy. And again, it goes back to what the mission statement and the name of the band is and the name of the LLC, which is the number 2, the letter N, inspire, and you, because it's all about to inspire you. If you're not inspired, what's the point? We know that music is powerful, and people can listen to the couple first bars of a song and automatically say, I know that song. Like there used to be a song, a show called Name That Tune. And people were like, oh my God, I know that song. So it's like that. You hear a song, it can take you back. It could be Reasons by Earth, Wind, and Fire. We can do Nancy Wilson. We've done Guess Who I Saw Today, where it's telling a story. We've done songs by Denise Williams, Cause You Love Me, Baby, Free, that she sings as well. Phyllis Hyman songs. I'm getting ready to do a whole tribute to her music on August 14th. But all of these things have to do with making people feel good or going back to a moment in time. That's how powerful music is. So in addition to it being therapeutic, being able to do that means everything. And that's pretty much why I feel like my purpose is music. It is. And in essence, I just love to give of that, whatever I have.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, believe it or not, we are almost out of time. But before we go, I want you to tell us about your single Promise and how it hit #1 in the UK and Japan. And just tell us what you have coming up, and then we're going to go into our Fast Five, okay?
We can live way up high on cloud 9. I will never, ever let you down. I promise that I love you, always thinking of you. Father, help us to be whatever it is we need. Plant the seed for this journey.
Yeah, so the song Promise came about because I was driving through Haddonfield, New Jersey one day, and I had to pull over and get my little cassette recorder out because the melody came to me. Da, 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 da. And so a couple of days later, the melody was still in my head. And then it was as if I was coming in the door and I automatically had the words. The words were, promise that you love me. And I thought about being married for 25, almost 26 years. And I thought about so many of my friends in church and that I've known since I was a youngster. And they're all still married or got married. Like I celebrate love and marriage. But beyond the fact that, everybody celebrates the wedding day, who celebrates the people who are committed to one another and stay together for that period of time, long after the love has lost its shine, when everybody goes back to their lives? Like who's there understanding what you've done and the sacrifices that you've made as a couple in your life together? You could be together a day, a year, whatever. So what I did was took that as the premise to write the lyrics called Promise, which is all about commitment. It's celebrating the commitment people have to one another. And then I went a step further, and when we did the video, we actually did an outro video, and we did it with a lot of the couples that are my friends, dear friends, whom I know personally, who, as I said, are married and committed to one another in their relationships. And I wanted to celebrate that love and that marriage and that commitment and who they are as a couple and who they are as people that you see every day in everyday life. And I thought that that was very important. So that's kind of like the whole thing behind the song and why I celebrate it so. And it was indeed #1 on the UK soul charts. I'm so excited about that. And also it's done very well in other countries, as like Japan and otherwise. And it's done well here at home too. But it's my third and most recent release. And as we said earlier, I am working on the album, and it is going to be part of the Love Project. So it'd be great.
That is beautiful. So you guys heard it first. Please check it out. You want to check out In Love There Is a Risk, also another beautiful song that she does. So please check out her music when you get a chance. Well, oh my goodness, this has been an incredible evening of just a conversation with you. And we just want to thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here with you. You guys can find me on all social media platforms. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube so that I can be certified as an artist channel and I can do my videos anywhere, anytime live. And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. You can just look for me and find me, and it's marycrossmusic.com.
Okay. marycrossmusic.com is your website. On YouTube, are they just looking up Mary Cross?
Mary Cross Music, yes.
Mary
If they look
Cross
up Mary
Music.
Cross Music, yep, that's the actual official channel, and you'll see a welcome intro video that I have that welcomes you all and thanks you so much for coming and tuning in.
And on social media, what is your handle?
Yeah, on social media, Instagram, it's the number 2, the letter Inspire You, so it's 2 Inspire You. On Twitter, it's Mary Cross Sings, and my Facebook fan page is Mary Cross Sings as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. So before we go, we have to do our fast 5. That's when I ask you 5 questions. You have 5 seconds to answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So question number 1, would you rather cook or eat out?
Cook.
Ooh, well, I might have to come over. Question number 2, favorite family vacation?
Hawaii.
Oh, yes. I love Hawaii too. My husband and I went there on our honeymoon. Oh, it's gorgeous. Which island were you on? Kona?
Yeah.
The Big
Thank
Island?
you.
Okay, yes, we too. It's beautiful down there. Hi, Mary. Hi, Dave. You guys are watching. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Question number 3. Favorite hobby?
Singing.
Okay, singing.
It is.
Question number 4. Favorite song to cover?
I'm Glad There Is You, Randy Crawford and Joe Sample.
Wow, beautiful. And last but not least, if you had all the money in the world, everything, there were nothing that could hinder you, what would you do?
I would build a site for mental health, a facility that is to establish a mental health wellness center for anyone and everyone, especially creatives like myself, because I think of Dorothy Dandridge, I think of Phyllis Hyman and so many others who didn't have the support or the proper diagnosis for what they needed to do to get through life. And this includes Nina Simone and others. There's so many and many that didn't go. So I would definitely have a mental wellness center for them.
That would be beautiful. And, I also think as artists, a root issue that we need to deal with is just understanding our value and just embracing our self-worth. Because I think there's always that challenge of, am I good enough? I don't know. This one said that one, I didn't get that, gig. I didn't get that, that record deal. But just us embracing who we are as artists and being okay with that.
Exactly. So well said. It's true.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been such a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Please stay tuned. Following this interview, you guys get to see Miss Mary Cross in action live singing for you. So stay tuned. But again, we just want to thank you again, Miss Mary Cross, for being with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. It was an absolute pleasure. And also, I do hope that you guys can follow along when you go to my website so that you can find out where I'm performing at, because I'm all over the place.
Absolutely. Please, guys, go check that out. We'll have the website here on the bottom of the screen for you guys to see. And again, my name is Renee West, and this is Music Mondays with Alia School of Art. Please, you guys want to come back next week because we're going to be having the impeccable Miss Alexis Joy, and you want to hear her story as well. But check us out online at www.aliaschoolofart.com and find us on social media at Alia School of Art, ALIYAH School of Art. Well, we love you guys. And until next time, thank you again, Miss Mary Cross.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
It may be heavenly, it may be bliss. You can shoot for the stars and still miss. But there's something in the air we can't miss. 'Cause we both know, we both know, we both know. In love, there's a reason.